Morning, episode 39. Good thinking.
Good Thinking, the podcast. I keep calling it now like an informal chat because I think podcast is really an oversell, But here we are talking about current events, marketing, all those things, culture.
Brand, all the things you need to know. Culture, yep.
Yes.
All the things you need to know. Yeah, fascinating. This is episode 39. It was an amazing newsletter. Lots to dig into, but I think we kind of have to interrupt this regularly scheduled program. I think we have some...
I wrote to you today. I was like, hold the presses. Stop the presses. We need to talk about something else. Thankfully, we are the press. It works. Yeah, I have to talk about Bobbi. Like, I got to talk about it. That's what I have a LinkedIn post on it. I will bring it up in the next newsletter. So I'll try to catch you up. But I'm calling this like maybe my favorite thing of 2024 in terms of brand and marketing. I know we're not at the end of the year, so we're not at the end of the year, so I'm willing to let another brand come in and try and take this trophy, but this is it for me. Like if the year ends here, like this is getting the trophy. So
all right, give me the goods.
Yeah, catch you up. So do you remember, let's go back to spring, I think, when Swell, the breastfeeding cookie brand, small brand, put up a billboard with Molly Baz, and she had like 2 breastfeeding cookies over her very pregnant belly, and people lost their minds, and then it got taken down. And then Seed came in.
We talked about it, yeah.
Okay, I'm just catching you up.
Yeah. So no, helpful, because sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't, so helpful.
Yes, and then Seed, the probiotic brand, came in and put the billboard back up, using their money and power and buy, and it was epic.
Which is amazing, and love both of those brands.
Love both of those brands. So now Bobbi, the formula brand, who I already loved and have talked about on every podcast.
And they're awesome humans, yeah.
Yes. They just put Molly Baz up in Times Square breastfeeding, holding their formula, talking about combo feeding. And it's like, everybody's got to eat. And it's like the best thing I've ever seen. First of all, has anyone ever seen 3 brands get together and have? Oh, do I have a tag? How much I do? Okay, 3 brands get together and have. Sorry, but rewind. 3 brands getting together and having a conversation like this in an unplanned way. This is not some big marketing stunt where they're all agreed that they were going to do this cool partnership together, right? This is a conversation where they're basically saying, we want to support moms, and we're suddenly doing it, and we're working together with all these different brands, amplifying this message that's not even a message about us, because it's so much bigger than them, and they're all doing it together. I mean, it's just it's kumbaya of branding, in the most perfect way. I love it so much. I mean, first of all, putting a woman in Times Square breastfeeding, epic on all levels, probably never been done before, probably will be taken down, but incredible. And they're a formula brand. They're not they're just saying feed your baby. And then they have a conversation about combo feeding, which is something that so many moms get shamed for on a constant basis of oh, you should use formula, you shouldn't choose formula. And they're basically saying no, just do whatever you want to do on this billboard in Times Square. Can you imagine anything more inspiring if you're trying to make this really difficult decision, and then someone's actually, it doesn't need to be that big of a deal, just feed your baby, do it and you look great doing it. And then the trilogy, I'm calling it the trilogy. It's like a 3-part trilogy, and we're at the end of this trilogy, and I'm so excited about it. I mean, I don't know. I need to go start a women's health brand just so that I can be part 4 of this series.
Right.
Because it is so inspiring. I was uncontainable. I literally came running to my table, running to my desk, posting about it on LinkedIn, running around, like texting you. Like this was 20 minutes basically before we were supposed to film this podcast. So as you can tell, I'm a little inspired.
I love how inspired and excited you are. Okay, so let's break it down. So the trilogy and the 3 brands are kind of the phases that you just explained, right? So okay, Swell,
Seed,
and now Bobby. Okay. Yeah. So obviously not happening at the same time, not in this ad of what Bobby just posted, but kind of the acknowledgement of that and the kind of building upon that.
Yeah. Same casting. So it's still Molly. She's still on her journey of motherhood. Like we're still following her. So she's obviously becoming this kind of like, she's giving mother to like the whole universe. And doing it in a way that's like, like everybody thinks this is like so taboo, and it's like these are not taboo topics. Right. They're topics that like all moms like have conversations about, and it's such an important topic. Like it astounds me that we've taken this long to get here, but what I'd love to see is just this synergy of these brands working together. Like I don't think in history that I know of that there's ever really been like this kind of play where they're playing together and they're saying like yes, like yes, let me put that on, like that doesn't happen
when it's supporting each other. So I think okay, so the first point to me is really like breaking the taboo, which you and I talk about a ton. The fact that you can talk about breastfeeding or say vagina in a meeting now and it's okay. This is certainly one of those. So it's really breaking that taboo, which we're 1000% here for. Then I think the next is what you're laying out is brands supporting brands, but not just brands supporting brands. It's really kind of women focused led brands supporting brands. And I think that's a really important distinction because, like so much of, my LinkedIn posts and what I see in the communities that I'm a part of it's like, it is now time, all ships rise. What's the ships rising, all boats, that all happening thing. And I think it's really about women supporting other women. Like there's enough room for everybody. And it's really about how can you help another woman doing something? How can you help another female brand feel, more powered? Like how can you do all of those things? And I think this is such a great example of that really happening. And I'm interested to see like, are the other brands going to weigh in? Like what's Seed going to say on this? Because I'm sure there's some thoughtful, supportive, like doing that conversation. So I'm excited to see kind of what that comes. And then I think the third thing is that, are we kind of seeing this? We talked about Burger King, and I'm not putting those in the same category, but I am saying we're now talking about like, let's not just talk about like, this is a thing, right? Like pregnancy and breastfeeding. Okay. It's a thing we have to deal with. Like, let's really create this empowering, like really rad, like not just like, oh, this is such a pain in the ass, which oftentimes breastfeeding can be, but let's really create this really empowering, like kind of superpower, superwoman presentation of that. Is that kind of something that maybe we're seeing that's happening more and more?
Yeah. I mean, Molly Baz is that. Kellogg's put her on that box, right? Like with her giant pregnant belly, and like Special K suddenly turned into something that women like of my generation wanted to eat. I mean, I never saw that coming.
Yeah, that's changing based on recent news, but yeah.
Really?
We can talk about that later. Yeah.
Never a dull moment. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just, it's really a different time. And yeah, I mean, I think that it's impossible to not have the conversation go back to Burger King, because like that went from like, there was like no claps around that, right? Like everyone suddenly was like, wow, like so angry. And then everyone was like, how dare you be angry? Like, and it was just like everybody fighting with one another. Yeah. Like that's all that turned into. And yeah, I hope that this is much like, it shouldn't need to be like, I don't think it's quite honestly all that different, like, except that one is talking about motherhood and one is talking about mothers. Like, I don't like, but it's
not a distinction we actually need to make. Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, like, but hopefully it doesn't turn into this like brouhaha over like, which, like when Swell came out, like it was like, people were angry that they took down the thing, and then everyone was like, yes! And I'm hoping that that's more the energy of this, which would be more what we need. But yeah, I think because it's also women-led brands, like there's more credibility. And we talked about that with Burger King. It's like, And I even think I used Bobby as the example. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, if Bobby did this, like, everyone would be thrilled about it. And I think, God, it's like
look at what you manifested.
Manifested greatness, just remembering. But yeah, I think it's, you know, I think that obviously Bobby has been wading into this conversation for a long time, and like people are happy and willing and excited for Bobby to be continuing to do that. And I think that that is going to be a strong distinction of like what makes something controversial versus what makes something celebratory.
Right. And I think this is literally the example used, but it's also the perfect example to like further illustrate. Bobby has been weighing in on these conversations on LinkedIn, like the team, you know, they've been weighing in on all of this in a perspective, and they have created that space so that they can. And then to have this and create a campaign based off of that, like that's chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's so good. So good.
Amazing. All right. 11 minutes.
Are we talking about anything else, or are we calling this one and done?
We're calling it
what
one and done.
Talk about. I mean, 2024.
Yeah, I mean,
let's
seriously.
just close the book and call it a day.
Here we go. Till next time.
Bye, all.